got to try, surround yourself with the right people who will encourage you, build the steps to success, right? I'm not saying you wouldn't jump out of a plane without a parachute and said, hey, she said to try anything. It's not what I'm saying, right? You do make sure you have the right tools and resources, but you learn and you build, and that's where you just tremendous growth and tremendous opportunity, because the next time you do it, it won't be the first time you've done it.
Hi and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. This is your host Neha Murthy at peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-way integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Codie Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. We have with us today Dr. Melanie Peacock, Sole Proprietor at M Training and Consulting. Dr. Melanie is a passionate consultant, educator, and speaker who believes in providing pragmatic and valuable solutions and learning experiences. She delivers valuable HR processes to clients in a variety of industries. Through her presentations and teaching, she inspires people to learn and push their boundaries to achieve success. She is also a workplace columnist and active media contributor who is sought out for her advice and expertise, which is what we are hoping to do today as well. Thank you, Dr. Melanie, for joining us at peopleHum. It's a pleasure to have you us today.
Well, thank you so much for the lovely invitation, and I'm thrilled to be here. Greetings from cold, wintry Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Very different from where you're recording, but isn't this lovely with the technology that you and I can speak to each other tonight for me, tomorrow morning for you, and I'm just thrilled to have people listening in today. So thanks to everybody who's taken the time to listen to this.
Thank you so much, Melanie. It's absolutely a pleasure. So, hopping right into the questions. For close to 3 decades now, you've been working as a sole proprietor at M Training and Consulting. Could you tell us more about the company and the work that you do there?
Absolutely. So I feel so blessed, Sneha, because I have so many different roles that I play. Thank you for the kind introduction. Yes, you talked about that I'm an educator. So yes, I'm a professor at a university here in Calgary, but I also have my sole proprietorship, M Training and Consulting, and I've had that for 25 years now. And it's been such a thrill to start something and then be able to see it grow and evolve. So it might beg the question, why did I start my own boutique consulting company? I always want to, and I think this is great advice for any HR professional, or any professional to be frank, to be pragmatic and to be aware of current trends and how things happen. And so being able to work with clients, to have my feet on the ground, to be involved in actual processes and issues has been such a blessing, because it's rewarding to me that I can give back and I can help other people improve their processes and operations in their companies. But it's win-win, because it then enables me to stay current, to stay apprised of what kinds of things HR people are dealing with in the actual real world. So I'm not just in an academic bubble. Also, what companies are dealing with. I always share with my students that if I had a t-shirt, it would say, so what? Theory is really important, and I'm a big believer in research and theory and academic knowledge. Of course I am. I'm a lifelong learner myself, and I'm a teacher. But with that, what goes hand in hand with that is, what do you do with that theory? That's nice, but then how is it actually used and applied in the real world? That's my so what. I love telling stories. I'm a storyteller. And so I do that in a classroom, and I do that with my clients too, because I can take that knowledge and that expertise, but then apply it. So that was always my impetus and my reason for starting a consulting company, to give back, to have some meaningful work, but also to keep myself grounded in reality. Another advantage too of having what I call a boutique consulting firm is I can choose which clients I deal with, and I only deal with 1 or 2 clients at a time, so that they get my focus and my energy and my knowledge. And it's a lovely way to be able to work. I feel very, very blessed.
That's interesting to know. And also, as someone who offers HR solution across industries, I'm sure you must have come across variety in the domain of HR professionals. Would you say that certain HR characteristics unify these professionals?
Yeah, so that's such a deep question, right? It's like nothing's constant but change. Nothing's changes but the same, one might say, right? That so, when we talk about unifying characteristics, particularly for human resource management professionals, I find so often it's quite interesting, and I hope it brings a smile to your face and to the listener's face, is people say, well, I'm going into HR because I like people. And I then want to smack my head on, and I have to say, awesome. So I hope you like telling them that they didn't get a job. I hope you like telling them that they're not getting a pay increase. I hope you like telling them that they have performance issues and they're being disciplined. I hope you like telling them that they're now being terminated and are out of a job. Now, I say that facetiously, but because of course you have to like people and you have to care about people, but it's so much more than that. You have to have technical competence and expertise. So if there's one unifying thing I would say with HR professionals, and I'd love to see the way that globally that this has been elevated, our profession as a whole, that now there are differences in countries and in different locations, but we still, if you look through it, have a high rigor of academic competency, skills, and knowledge that HR professionals are supposed to have. So I would say that academic rigor, that solid competency base, is a huge unifying characteristic. Yes, second, two, we do have to like people, but you also have to be compassionate. And there's a difference, right? You can be liking people and not be a compassionate person, because you're going to be working with people through a life cycle. And you're going to have to deal with some very hard or difficult issues when you're dealing with people. It's not all, pardon the expression, sunshine and roses. I've dealt with people through sickness. I've dealt with people while they're experiencing grief. I've had to work with people as they experience job loss. There are the other sides of it, though, too. I've had the joy of bringing people into organizations and telling them they get their jobs. I've seen the joy of people succeeding, whether it be on a project or in a role, get promoted. I've seen people experience wonderful life events, marriage, additions to their family. So you can like all those things, but without compassion, without being willing to understand, I would add to that, I'm going to call it point 2B. You can tell I'm an academic. Hey, I'm sneaking in some extra answers here. Point 2B would be a unifying feature, would be the ability to really listen. Because people want to be heard. And once they feel heard and then understood, it's all tying into that compassion. If I could add a third thing that I see as a unifying characteristic is just a love of learning. The best HR professionals I've ever had the privilege of working with, and I am so blessed to know so many, they all really love to learn. The love of learning helps our profession and ourselves as individuals and as practitioners evolve and grow. Things change, and we need to keep up with those changes.
Absolutely. I completely agree to that, that HR is just not about people. There is a lot of things, stitched together in that.
Thank you so much for acknowledging that. That is such a critical point. In
Absolutely.
fact, when I talk to my clients, when I share with my students, I tell them I'm a businesswoman with a specialization in human resource management. So HR people have to understand what the business they work for does, or in my case, when I work with clients, I have to understand how they make money. I say, profit is important. Of course, we care about people. In fact, the tagline for Double M Training and Consulting is your greatest return is investing in people. And then I say, you make money through and with your people, but not at the expense of them. So it's understanding, though, how to make money. Because if there is no profit, then the organizations cannot continue, and then they can't hire people and employ people. They can't give back to the communities they live in. So absolutely, I'm shameless about that. My master's degree is in business administration. I'm an MBA with a background in finance. So, hey, we got to make money. And to do that, we have to understand the business. But it's knitting in how people support the business in being successful. It's that link, because without people, the business is nothing. But if the business isn't successful or profitable, then we don't need the people. So there is that overlap and that synergy.
Absolutely, this intertwined together.
Absolutely, Sneha.
And also, you've spoken about pushing people beyond their boundaries to achieve success, especially with the new year. Most of us have a new year, new me agenda on our minds, right? So, in that respect, how important would you say is stepping outside our comfort zone?
Yeah, there's a great quote, and of course, I can't remember who said it, but life begins at the end of your comfort zone, right? And I have been on this planet a few years, I'm not sure how many, and I'll tell you though, even now, when I'm offered a new opportunity or to get involved with a new project or to learn a new technology, I gasp a little bit and I think, oh my, what if I can't do it? What if I'm not going to be successful? What if I fail or don't succeed to the level I want to? Because I'm a human being. We all are, right? We're not robots. And then, deep breath, I get over myself and I move on, because it's really critical. Some of the best things in life that I've ever been blessed to experience are when I took a chance on trying something new. Of course, I did my research. I want to learn. I ask questions. I rely on those that know so much more than me. But it's pushing myself out of those comfort areas and saying, I'm going to try something new. I'm willing to try something new. And yes, I'm willing to not even necessarily be great at it, but I'll start at being good and then I'll get better. And it takes letting go of some ego. It takes being willing to be vulnerable. I will also share a great tip. It takes surrounding yourself with and by people who believe in you and will support you. I've been so blessed, right? When I think, oh, I'm not sure, and my friends and my colleagues will say, you can do it. And we got you, and go for it. And they need to remind, and I hope I can do that for others too. And I hope people listening today, I hope I can do this for you. You got this. You got to try, surround yourself with the right people who will encourage you, build the steps to success, right? I'm not saying you wouldn't jump out of a plane without a parachute and said, hey, she said to try anything. It's not what I'm saying, right? You do make sure you have the right tools and resources, but you learn and you build, and that's where you just tremendous growth and tremendous opportunity, because the next time you do it, it won't be the first time you've done it. A perfect example is, even because of the pandemic, it's changed the way we've had to do a lot of presentations, a lot of my speaking engagements. So I had to do a 60-minute pre-recorded lecture, and it was like a keynotes presentation. It wasn't a lecture, and I thought, that's going to be very strange to just talk into a little white light, not like we're doing here. I can see you and we can interact and we're asking questions. It was just 60 minutes of me talking to the bright light. And I thought, that's not going to be so great, because I like the interaction. I like to have the questions. But I did it. Was it superb? No. But the client didn't run away screaming, and they seemed happy with it. And I know the next time I do it, it'll be better. And before I did it, I did some research. I asked other people who have done it. I made sure I understood the technology, all things I wasn't comfortable with, but I did it. And so there's just, the pandemic has done that for all of us, right? Forced us out of our comfort zones. But let's not lose that momentum. Let's get healthy. Let's get vaccinated. Let's get so that we can be in person again and enjoy each other's energy and learn from each other. But let's not lose these key learnings that we've been pushed to change the way we operate and think and interact with one another. And so we can continue to do that.
Absolutely, I completely agree to that. And what is the worst that can happen? We're just going to gain more experience. I would not even call it that we're going to fail at it.
That's right. It's just one step away from success.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that positivity. And the pandemic has certainly reiterated the need to put people in the spotlight. What are some tips and tricks for HR to make sure their people are constantly engaged?
Yeah, it's so interesting that we use the word engagement so much in business, in HR management. Sometimes I joke and say, does anyone realize that the word engaged has the word gag in the middle of it? Because people sometimes go, no, you're going to talk about engagement again. Because it can be an overused term, right? Like, what does it really mean to have somebody be engaged? And I've thought deeply about this. I've read a lot about it. I've written about it. I've done some informal research on it. And at the risk of being very simplistic, engagement boils down to one thing that I'm going to break down into two parts. One thing is meaning. If people feel that and here are the two parts, work has meaning, and that two, they have meaning, they'll be engaged. We make it's much more complicated, and I could give lots of theory, and there's lots of great academic research on this, but to boil it down to a very practical level, if one, people feel that their work matters, that what they do is helping an organization achieve effective outcomes and results. It's not that complicated. And two, if they feel that they matter, that they're being recognized, that they're being appreciated, that they're being valued, and there's so many ways to do that. But if their work and they themselves matter, if they have meaning, the work and the people themselves, engagement will happen. And again, it's how does that happen though? How do we make that happen? Well, recognizing people and making their work meaningful, I'll give you one example. We can talk about performance management. Now, there's lots of talk about should there be annual performance appraisals anymore. We're moving more to continuous coaching conversations, having ongoing times where we can talk to employees and make sure that they're on track, setting shorter goals. By the way, as an aside, I still believe we need the one-time annual documented performance appraisal for legal and other process decisions. But we also need those coaching conversations so that people can know, one, my work matters. People know what I'm doing. They appreciate and recognize what I'm doing. And I understand what goals I'm moving toward, short, ongoing, meaningful goals that can then build into the overall organization's success. And two, when people take time to talk to me, then I know I matter. You know, it's not all just work. One of the things that I've really been stressing during the pandemic, we talk a lot about the power of why. You know, people want to know why they do what they do. And I want us to really embrace the power of how. Not just why you're doing what you're doing, how are you doing? You know, and I've been working with a lot of clients saying when you're having your virtual meetings, don't check in on your people. That sounds like you're checking up on them, right? Like, what are you doing? What have you got? Check on them. How are you doing? Start the conversations with that. You know, our conversation has sort of come full circle, hasn't it, Sneha? Because that's part of that compassion that I was talking about earlier. You know, it really does start to intertwine and all fit together. I love it when a plan comes together.
Absolutely, that is so relevant. I mean, like you just need the engagement starts where people feel that they matter and their opinion matters at where they are working.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's palpable. You can actually feel when you go into an organization, you can sense it. You can sense if people feel engaged, you know? I've had a client ask me once, oh, I want to do this complex survey, and I'll help clients design surveys, and they are important. But you know what? Some of the easiest ways to define a quick sense of engagement, do people smile? Do people say hello to one another? Do you ever hear laughter in the office, in the workplace, appropriately and at appropriate times? But you know, simple little indicators like that can see if people we're more than just the work we output. We should bring our whole selves, our whole authentic selves to work. And you can really feel in the air when that is or isn't happening.
Wow, the three questions that you said are a quick and a very easy pulse check that every company needs to do.
Absolutely.
And also, before wrapping up the interview, any sound bites or passing remarks for us and our audience?
Well, I would just say that again, I would encourage everyone, when we talked about compassion, Show yourself compassion as well, self-care and self-compassion, particularly for human resource management professionals. We're a giving profession, so you can't give, you cannot pour from an empty vessel. One of the tips that I would give to, and for HR professionals and for anybody in the workforce, is make sure you network and align yourself, have a support of other people, even outside your organization, who are passionate and invested in the same work you do. It really does, it can elevate, we rise when we lift others, so let yourself be risen up as well. It can be just so powerful. The last thing I'll share too is let's not forget the power of social media. Yes, I know people will ask me sometimes, oh, aren't you worried about trolls? And we've all had some not so positive experiences. It's just the way it is. But I'll share, Sneha, that social media, and I'm very selective, you have to pick and choose. You cannot be on all things. You cannot be all things to all people. So for me, it's mainly Twitter and LinkedIn. But I have been able to connect with other practitioners across the globe. And I mean this without sounding like I'm exaggerating. It's been life-changing. It's elevated my career. It's forced me out of my comfort zone. It's made me rethink so many things. I've learned so much. And also, for very selfish reasons, it's made me feel like my work matters. These people that I've worked with have been so kind and so generous and to tell me that I've helped them. And it's all about meaning making and giving back. And by opening myself up to that social media, again, strategically thought, planned, but pushing those boundaries, being willing to be vulnerable, it's been an incredible journey that's not over yet.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that valuable advice, Melanie.
Thank you, Sneha, and thank you so much for your time and the opportunity to speak with you.
It's absolutely our pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. And I loved the conversation throughout, and I'm sure it's gonna be the same for our audience as well.
Thank you.
Hoping to stay in touch with you. Take care, stay healthy, stay safe.
You too.
Bye bye.